Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we are here for another video in the opening paragraph series, where what I do is I take a novel, a short story, or something, and we just spend some time with the opening paragraph because of all of the wonderful things that an opening paragraph can and does accomplish. One of the quotes that I keep introducing in this series comes to us from Neil Gaiman, and he says that a second draft is to make it look like we knew what we were doing the whole time, speaking, of course, about authors. And it's very important because the very first place where you get the chance to make that impression is in the opening paragraph. Here we have The Shining from Stephen King. Anyone who's read The Shining from Stephen King knows that the opening paragraph is very short, so what we're going to do is we're going to cheat a little bit, just a little bit. We're going to append the first paragraph, which is just 6 words, to the second paragraph. We're going to assume that it's sort of an opening statement. In this way, because we're using The Shining from Stephen King, this video will also be part of the Shining playlist here on the channel. I have what I believe is a 15-part read-through plus a review, a novel review for The Shining from Stephen King. This will be in that playlist as well as the opening paragraph playlist here on the channel, but also for my personal channel, a link to which can be found in the description to this video. I have a movie review for The Shining. So here we go. We're going to read through the opening paragraph a couple times. Well, the opening paragraph plus 6 words, the opening 6 words plus paragraph, however you want to look at things. Jack Torrance thought, officious little prick. Ullman stood 5'5", and when he moved, it was with the prissy speed that seems to be the exclusive domain of all small, plump men. The part in his hair was exact, and his dark suit was sober but comforting. I am a man you can bring your problems to, that suit said to the paying customer. To the hired help, it spoke more curtly. This had better be good, you. There was a red carnation in the lapel, perhaps so that no one on the street would mistake Stuart Ullman for the local undertaker. We're going to read through it one more time, just to really have it in our minds. Jack Torrance thought, officious little prick. Ullman stood 5'5", and when he moved it was with the prissy speed that seems to be the exclusive domain of all small, plump men. The part in his hair was exact, and his dark suit was sober but comforting. I am a man you can bring your problems to, that suit said to the paying customer. To the hired help, it spoke more curtly. This had better be good, you. There was a red carnation in the lapel, perhaps so that no one on the street would mistake Stuart Ullman for the local undertaker. I want to start with that very first 6 words. Jack Torrance thought, officious little prick. Now what that does is we understand we are in close psychic distance to Jack Torrance, but not first person. We are still in a third person novel, but we have a very close psychic distance to Mr. Torrance. Maybe these observations, the observations in this opening paragraph about Stuart Ullman, are not exactly those observations of Jack Torrance, but certainly they would be endorsed by him. These might not be the personal judgments of Jack Torrance, but they are the judgments of a narrator which is very close in psychic distance to Jack Torrance. And like I said, he would endorse them. But what we have to acknowledge is the fact that these judgments are very judgmental. These are not positive judgments. These are not positive observations. They are observations with a certain lens over the eyes. A lens which is judgmental in the capacity that what it does is it degrades. And if you know anything about the novel The Shining, there is a steady stream of degrading content herein. These, the thoughts of the hotel seem to be, in the way that a lot of horror seems to be, a subconscious niggling in your mind. The subconscious stream of thoughts in The Shining is one that constantly degrades the individuals having these observations. That is important because what it does is enough of those little observations that make you feel worse and worse about yourself. And where are you? You're someplace where you have nothing to lose because you are not worth it in the first place. That is one of the places from which this novel comes. But also, those opening 6 words, Jack Torrance thought officious, little prick, they tell us something about Jack. Jack has vocabulary. Jack, if you're in the novel, you learn that Jack is a writer who, amongst us, uses the word officious. This might be the only time I've ever seen the word officious in my life. This might be the only time I've ever read the word officious. I don't think I have any other exposure to the word officious in my entire 35 years on this planet. So it tells us something about Jack, even if, because that officious little prick is a quote from Jack Torrance. Those are his personal thoughts. Moving on, it tells us that opening little 6 words, this novel belongs to Jack Torrance. This novel belongs to him because Jack Torrance, those are the first 2 words in the novel. Jack Torrance thought, that is the first action of the novel. Jack Torrance thought officious little prick sets the mood for the entire novel. This is his novel. Because it's a novel, it is necessary to look at his name, Jack. Jack means God is gracious. That is the etymology of the name Jack. It also means supplanter. Now, getting a little bit into the content of The Shining, there is a puzzling religious overtone herein. It is not overtly religious. There is no overt, well, there's some overt religious symbolism. There's not too much overt religious symbolism. If you accept the premises that the Bible is the book upon which all Western literature is based, which I'm not sure I do, but it's often put out there, so we have to accept it. There is not an overwhelming amount of overt religious symbolism herein, but it is mysteriously draped over this novel. It is draped over this novel. Look, what you've got here is you've got a Trinity, but it's not a Father, Son, and a Holy Ghost. It's Father, Son, and holy shit. It's Father, Son, and Mother. It is, perhaps, you have Joseph, Mary, and the child who is the chosen one, the child who is the special one, the child who is able to speak to the afterworld, which brings into question, if you're looking at the overt religious symbolism there, what you're looking at is a question of whether or not the paternity of Danny is Jack. So there's a lot of levels on which religion is working in this novel, but that name, meaning God is gracious, that is an ironic statement coming from this novel. No one in, so this novel seems to be a story which deals with destiny. None of the characters herein would have chosen the destiny to which they fall, which befalls them, the destiny which befalls them. Moving on. Supplant. Jack also means, quote-unquote, supplanter. Supplant means to supersede or replace. When you're looking at the contents of this novel, Jack's family is supplanted by the hotel. Jack's work of writing is supplanted by the hotel. Danny's father is supplanted perhaps by a void, but there, oh, now I'm forgetting his name. The cook. It could be the cook who also appears in it, right? What is his name? I can't remember it. Anyway, his father figure might be supplanted by that character. Wendy's calm life is supplanted by ultimate tragedy. Now, she was in a relationship which was abusive, obviously. Jack is not the most dependable individual, not the nicest guy. So we have a lot of supplanting here. We have a lot of superseding or replacing here. Now, moving on to the last name, Torrance. Torrance. Maybe it's just a last name. Maybe it is a homophone. Torrance is a fairly common last name, but Torrent is a fairly common word. Torrent, meaning a powerful stream of water, a jet stream of water, a torrent. It is torrential. Think of that. So when we have Jack's entire name, Jack Torrance, given to us, perhaps it is to mean supplanter of torrential stream. Looking at the torrential stream which befalls Danny. Danny has all of these icy dead people stuff in his regular life anyway, but it does not seem to be particularly dangerous. The dangerous stream, the torrent in his life, is Jack. Until they find themselves at the Overlook Hotel. Then Jack, that powerful stream of abuse, is supplanted by the hotel itself. So, replacement of powerful stream. Replacement of powerful stream of hate, replacement of powerful stream of abuse, replacement of powerful stream of anger. There are all of these different things going on in that word, depending on how you want to look at the novel. But torrent in Latin, just to further make this point, torrent in Latin means to boil. So, boiling mad. Haven't you heard that stream or that phrase? So when we're looking at it from that point of view, the torrent, the boiling, the anger, replacement, Jack, supplanter, replacement, anger. So I think that is all sort of baked in there just for fun. Torrance, Torrance, is a derivative of the Gaelic Torran, Torran, which means a mound. Oftentimes a mound is a euphemism for a grave, a freshly dug grave. You bury someone, there is a fresh little mound. Now we have the question of the carnation. The carnation is given to us here. A carnation is a mixed symbol. Carnations, what do they stand for? They stand for love. Oh, love. And it's red. What does red stand for? Love. Red is love. And when you have a red flower, certainly that is love. Means love. Hold on. There's a whole lot of love in this novel. It is unquestionable that Jack Torrance loves his work. It is especially unquestionable that Jack Torrance does love his son and his wife. It is unquestionable that Danny loves Jack and that Danny loves his mother, Wendy. Wendy certainly loves her son. Wendy starts off by loving her husband. That love seems to degrade. So there is love going on in this novel. That might be what is meant by the red carnation. But carnations are often used in the funeral setting. Carnations are often used to symbolize the love of a past one, one who has passed, a past one. So when you're looking at loving someone who has passed, loving someone who is dead, it is certainly a viable thing to imagine that you would present the remaining family with a red carnation. Awfully strange that that would be presented at the beginning of a novel that has to do with dead people, people who are long gone, if it is not meant as some type of symbolism. After all, why does he have to be wearing a red flower? Mightn't he just be wearing a red handkerchief in his coat pocket? Mightn't that be the touch, the dash of color that Stuart Ullman would want to use as opposed to a carnation? So what statement there are we going for? One would also be remiss not to observe the fact that red is an allusion to blood. And I'm going to I'll get back to that point a little bit later in this video. So when we're looking at questionably religious symbolism, let's look at Stuart Ullman. We have one precise detail about Stuart Ullman, one precise detail which would be almost impossible to precisely observe if you were Jack Torrance sitting in his office, even if you were a narrator writing this scene out afterwards. That observation is the fact that Ullman stood 5'5". How do you know he's 5'5"? You might say he's a short fella. You might say he's a little guy, but 5'5", numbers there are very precise. 5 is a symbol for man. Man is 5, the devil is 6, and God is 7. 555 is the ultimate number of humanity. And if we're going to take that a little bit further, Ullman. Literally, Ullman, Ullman, is a last name which means the man from Ulm. Interestingly, Ulm contains the world's tallest steeple, originally constructed in the late 1300s, but also, if we're talking about the way things sound, Torrance, Torrents versus Torrance, we might as well look at the fact that Ullman's last name sounds like Allman or Everyman. So the portrait that we have here of the Everyman is prissy and plump. Prissy and plump. Ripe for the picking. One which might be readily preyed upon. We have those things going on with Ullman as well. He is seen as the everyman. He is presented as the boss man. So that is interesting to observe as well. But another thing that we have in this very opening paragraph is the dichotomy between the real world and the hotel. We have it here. And remember, if you have read The Shining, you understand that there is a very sharp dichotomy between the hotel and the outside world. Here, it is very, very well explicated by this. His dark suit was sober but comforting. I am a man you can bring your problems to, that suit said to the paying customer being the outside world. To the hired help being the hotel itself, to the hired help it spoke more curtly, this had better be good, you. So the inference there being that the outside world has its own issues. The outside world has its little bit of peace, has its little bit of niceness, but inside the hotel, to those belonging to the hotel, there is only, speaking curtly, there is only anger, judgment being cast. This had better be good, you. It also places blame directly on the individual. This had better be good, you. So there is a lot of pressure coming from the hotel itself. Now another thing, the last thing I want to talk about here. One thing that Stephen King is very good about doing is setting ambiance. One of the ways that you can set ambiance is with your vocabulary itself, is with your choice set of words. There is a lot of subconscious trickeration that goes into vocabulary. Why? Because words give you images. Words set you visually someplace while your mind might be operating someplace else. All we have here in this opening paragraph, this opening 6 words plus paragraph, is an office scene. But we have some ambiance set. The ambiance here is set by his suit. First off, his dark suit was sober but comforting. I want you to tell me what color was his suit. We don't know. We don't know what color his suit was. His suit was dark. Dark. Is it a dark black? We don't know. Is it a dark blue? We don't know. Dark black. Was it a light black? Was it dark? Yes. Was it black? We don't know. Was it dark blue? Perhaps. Was it dark brown? Perhaps. Was it dark gray? Perhaps. Hell, was it dark red? Maybe. Dark. If it is a dark red, if it is a maroon, you would say that it's dark. That's a dark color. Is it a light color or a dark color? It's a dark color. It would be strange for it to be maroon. But maybe not, because this is from the 70s, right? So we have dark suit. We don't even get the color there. Where we do get a color is with the carnation. Coming back to that now. What color is the carnation? The carnation is red. Red is blood. And red is the only color we get. Is the only color which is communicated to us here in this opening 6 words plus paragraph. Might not seem substantial. You don't have to give us a color every time that you open your mouth, every time that you jot down a paragraph as a writer. But we have a very good visual field of everything that's going on here. I don't think anyone would claim that this is a poorly written or constructed opening 6 words plus paragraph. You have a very good visual idea of what is going on, despite the fact this is a very visual scene, despite the fact that we don't get any colors communicated to us besides red. In the last place that we have a little bit of mood set, a little bit of ambiance set, is with the very last word in that opening 6 words plus paragraph, Undertaker. So what we're doing here, so Undertaker, obviously, you're talking about dead people, you're talking about the morbid, you're talking about the macabre, the danse macabre, if you will. So the only big mood-setting things we have here are the judgment cast by our narrator and by Jack Torrance. So we have an ambiance of judgment. We have an ambiance of death with Undertaker and the color red, and we have an ambiance of depression or doom or gloom with the word dark, in dark suit. Stephen King does not even care to tell you what color that dark suit is, so long as you are imagining something which is dark. So there are a lot of things going on here in the opening paragraph, 6 words plus paragraph, of The Shining. And hey, I'm not the biggest Stephen King fan, but I always make a point to say whenever I'm talking about Stephen King that he is possibly the preeminent storyteller of our time. I would not make the case that he is the best writer of our time, but the preeminent storyteller of our time. Storytellers care a lot about the mood of the story that they are setting forth. They set the mood, and you can play with whatever you want in the story. That's how storytellers often work, versus writers, which care a lot about every detail involved. Storytellers want to set the mood, which is possibly why there is so much success behind genre and behind horror. In particular, horror is all about the mood. Horror is all about the ambiance. If you were looking for another bit of lesson about ambiance, see if I can find it real quick. The Haunting from Shirley Jackson has a lot to do with ambiance in a text, ambiance in horror, ambiance in fiction. It also has a really good opening paragraph that maybe we will get to at some point in the future here on the channel. So that is all I have for this video here. There is an opening paragraphs playlist here on the channel. You are more than welcome to find that. There is a The Shining playlist here on the channel. And also, there are some videos on The Shining over on my personal channel. But the movie, The Shining, over on my personal channel, and I welcome you over there as well. I hope to see you next time.